Hello, hello. It's so nice to see so many faces. It's surprising at this time of the day. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Hello, Digital Dragons. I am Dawid W. Mika.
And I'm Michał Korniewicz. We'll be introducing ourselves shortly.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, and we're here to tell you something about what we did for a game called Evil West. So I started working on game audio about 10 years ago. I started as a freelancer, working on music and sound design. At some point I switched to sound design when I realized it's so cool. I want to do it. And after a few years of freelancing, I landed a job at a company called Layup Games, where I worked for around about a year. Later, I jumped the ship of Tate Multimedia, where I shipped a few games with them. And more than 3 years ago, I started working at Flying Wild Hog, where currently I work as a lead sound designer.
And my name is Michał Korniewicz, and just like David, I started making music. I started as a composer, but unlike David and many other people in the industry, I decided not to specialize. I'm still an active composer, as well as sound designer. I think those two enriches the other, and I plan to keep it that way. I've started working in a company called iSlims until Techland, where we delivered Pure Farming 2018, which is a whole separate journey. And yeah, then I had my first little audio team on Donkey Crew, where we were working on a MMO called Last Oasis. And then I worked in Anshar Studios, which was great, and I worked there as an audio director. And that actually, after we delivered Game Deck, made me realize that I want to kind of take a step back, and instead of pursuing those management roles, I still enjoy more making stuff than actually telling others how to do it. And that's how I landed at the Hogs. And yeah, and I worked on the Evil West title. And before we move forward, I just want to say I really appreciate every single one of you coming here on this day on 10 a.m. I thought that nobody's going to be here. So yeah, round of applause to you, really, guys.
This is huge. Thank you. And who are we? Who are we with? We are part of Flying Wild Hog, a company from Warsaw. Recently we got our 14th anniversary. We specialize in explosive action-adventure games. Usually there's a lot of blood. In the previous year we shipped 4 titles. And we're gonna tell you about the last one today.
Yeah, about Evil West, which is really, or I'll do it like that. Yeah, which is basically, if you haven't met the game, it's a typical Hog game. It's a mayhem, it's an old school game, it's a linear one, it's a first person type of action game, narrative driven. You play as Jesse, the ultimate vampire slayer, and you just tackle hordes of monsters and you tear through them, and there's no nonsense kind of gameplay, no loot boxes, microtransaction, on kind of that shit. And so we focused on the pure fun. I mean, it gets pretty gnarly on the higher level difficulties. It poses a challenge. But I honestly, the thing I like most about the game, and I really adore, it's not trying to be anything else that it is. It's not selling itself as an open world or that kind of stuff. It's important for me because I really enjoy working on games that I actually enjoy playing, and I had a ton of fun playing that game. Even when we came back just to record footage for the presentations, like that kicks. So now to kind of lead you into the world of Evil West, we'll play you the trailer of the game.
Jesus. Fuck. Just behind you! I know you're sharpening your teeth for the president. Fucking beasts. Now, Jack! No! There is a house way down in Calico. They call the rising sun. And it's been the room of many for boy. And God, I know I'm one. Felicity, I'm coming! never sleeps, but it bleeds.
The only thing the hunter needs is his golden and a gun. And the only time he'll be satisfied is when leeches rot in the sun.
Yeah, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Thank you.
Okay, so what's the plan? We're gonna tell you about something about our team, how it grew, something about our challenges, about our initial workflow, how it evolved, where we ended up, how we did things. We're gonna tell you about our approach towards development of a sound designer. What does it mean to be a sound designer? How we see it. We're gonna tell you something about finalizing audio for our game, something about our future plans, and we're gonna sum it up and give you time to ask some questions.
Yeah. So we'll start with audio team lifespan, and we really want to talk about it. Not to share you, all the names and all the accolades and all that stuff, but we grew because of reasons, and we want to talk about those reasons, those needs that we tackled along the way, and actually helped us, allowed us to solve, allowed us to change dramatically our workflow. And well, this speech is in an audio track, but it's really a production speech, to be fair with you. So this is most of it. We'll play some sounds for you, of course, but it's focusing on the production side of things. So it's worth noting that Evil West, when it was in pre-production, audio direction of the Evil West was handled by Adam Skorupa, our living legend of Polish game audio, and Marek Gałach, audio programmer, who's at that time at Flying Wild Hog, was helping him develop systems for it. The actual development started in 2019, and two beautiful gentlemen were handling the business there. First, Przemysław Moszczyński, who's today here with us, and Marcin Sobczak, who's sadly not. And those gentlemen were joined by LA-based composer Nima Fakhara, who was contracted to write music for the game. And they were all groomed by our producer, Claudia Sordo. She's still sleeping, but okay, and the development moved forward until our lovely cutscene department started to delivering stuff. And it turned out that they created almost 1.5 hours of cutscenes in the game. And guys quickly said that there's no way we can make audio for it. We have our hands full with gameplay. And that's the first need of growth appeared at Flying Wild Hog, and that's actually when they called me. And I joined the company with that single purpose in mind, to take care of the cutscenes, kind of grasp control of it. But as you've seen, it was 1.5 hours of material, and the beta was coming in fast. So fortunately, we also decided to outsource some of the stuff to Juice Studio and to Kuba Pietrzak. If any of you, I've seen there's also a lot of sound designers here, if any of you have a chance to work with Juice, I wholeheartedly recommend it. Great people, lovely work with those. And in the meantime, Marek Gałach was replaced by Alex Kozlov, who became our audio programmer. And it's all good. Like, cutscenes are under control, but the team grew, the development team grew of Evil West, and features just keep pouring in. And that means that Przemek and Marcin can only do first passes. They can make sounds for the new features that are coming, but have absolutely no time to iterate on stuff or to rethink or to do anything else. They are hectically working forward, and that's just not something that made the game sound as we wanted. And we had a bit of unexpected help from our Rzeszów department just before the beta. Artur and Paweł joined the team, and that was first turning moment that we had 5 sound designers. I actually kind of finished with cutscenes, so I jumped to UI, and we have 5 sound designers on board. And it was the first time that we felt like the quality of the audio started rapidly rising, because we no longer just could react to whatever has been thrown at us. We could think a little bit of what we want to do and iterate on stuff. And that didn't last long because, as you may know, Joshua Branch was still working on Trek to Yomi, and guys had to go back briefly to finish this game. But we finished Shadow Warrior 3. And that's where, in my opinion, a real turning point in the development took place, where Dawid and Michał Jankowski joined the team. And this is the first time in the development that we are able to pause, to take a breath, and ask ourselves, first we ask ourselves what we want to make sound better, right? Because that's the first question. But that question quickly evolved into how do we want to change our workflow and our approach, because it wasn't working. We weren't happy. The guys were tired. We were getting frustrated with stuff. And so we played the game extensively first, and then we started to figure out if we can do something with it. And that growth allowed me to transition to composing music, partially to Evil West, and we also joined a dedicated QA. And this is the final audio team that were delivering the game, 11 people total. So quite a good bunch. And without that number, really, we could not deliver the game as we did. So that workflow. Yeah. You are?
So yeah, if you did your math, you see we had 2 Michał Korniewiczes, which was great. Thank you, Michał, really. And yeah. And something about our workflow. It was, I would say, pretty standard. And you know, we got some feedback. Look, there's new thing in the game, or look, the sound here is broken. We are putting it into Jira task. And then the audio magic happened, right? But, you know, it wasn't perfect. Just as Michał said, we had a time to do basic first pass, sometimes second, but it wasn't cutting it. Even with more people, and they were all senior sound designers, we felt like chickens without our heads running around and doing first passes here and there, and it wasn't really making it for us. We're not happy. We're only able to focus on some ad hoc needs, but still it was far from what we wanted. It wasn't sounding right, and we weren't delivering audio that we wanted. And by that I mean it wasn't audio that really helped with the player experience. It wasn't even sounding pretty nice at this point. So, yeah, we were doomed.
Yeah. We were doomed until the point that I actually met with Rufino, who's our technical art director, and I talked briefly with him about our frustration with the workflow, and he proposed something really cool. He told us to gather the team, get onto the Miro or any other software. We chose Miro, and just drew up the dream pipeline that we feel would be best to deliver audio. And we really needed that kick because we were kind of working with the mindset that we are nearing the end of development, right? It's not pre-production, it's not even the start of production, we are deep in production. The launch date is on the horizon, and it's not time really for changes, right? And he said, no, it's always time for changes. Please think about it. So we did just that with Matt, and we drew up the pipeline that we thought might work. Don't worry, I'm fully aware that you don't get shit from that picture and just too complicated, so I'll break it down for you. The main principles that we've put into that graph and we've put in our dream pipeline was first filtering the feedback. Just like Dawid said, we are reacting to the feedback falling from the top or from the sides without any filter. And we wanted to move that power and control of transitioning feedback into tasks to audio department. So we decided now whether it's going to be a task or whether in the sprint or whether it's going to go to the backlog, or we even discredited some of the feedback because we thought it's not valid and we did not act upon it. And we moved that power to the audio department. Then we introduced planning, and believe me, there was no planning before, and that was mainly to shield us from that feedback, because it was often happening that we get a task on Wednesday, and it was expected to be done by Thursday, and was expected us to drop everything else and start doing. So that kind of helped us. We were getting tasks and say, yeah, next Monday we'll get to the planning, maybe we'll put it in. And yeah, with that came more attention for setting priorities, because now we could do that while planning. And we figure out that before we jump on anything else, when we set what we want to do, we want to focus on the things that are either missing sources, so we have to go to the field or to the studio and record custom material for it, or we need custom audio systems with the help of our audio programmer. One thing I really like, point number 5, and we really we put it into life, and I'm very happy with the results. We pick and choose the most important features in the game, and we use iterative approach, but not just having one person working on it with a couple iterations. We switch. So one person do first pass, then we go to the second sound designer who's building upon it, and so on, and sometimes even the third for the really important systems. And that really allows us to kind of bring, every person brings a little bit of their own magic, and we're very happy how it works. Also, better forms of validation. The QA helped tremendously. And yeah, and this was really a starting route. Obviously, not everything we drew we put into life straight away, but it greatly improved our life at the very beginning, and it gave us a solid, real solid foundation that we looked forward to building upon. Yeah, and now, because I can talk about pipelines all day, but at the end we don't make pipelines, we make games. And I want to show you the results of that new pipeline on probably my favorite feature of the game that shows, I think it shows the best, the melee combat. And melee combat is really at the heart of Evil West. And at the very beginning, I was telling you that there was no time for iterations, right? That punches were actually the only thing that had already multiple iterations. But the iterations were just swapping assets of punches. And instead of getting better, it actually got progressively worse, because we are getting feedback that it has to be louder, meatier, punchier, more kick, more everything. And assets got overcompressed, distorted, and just flat. And at that point, there's no way to make it better by just swapping the assets. I'll play a video for you that's built from, I believe, October 2021, something like that. You can listen to it. All right, so as you can see, all the same punches for no matter what kind of punch. Whooshes that are a bit desynchronized even. So yeah, it was bad at some point. It was bad, and we had to get out of there. And first I'll play you the video of how it actually sounds at launch in the game, and then I'll talk about how we approached it and what we did and how that pipeline helped us. just like that. So that's first thing. It's exactly the core feature that we iterated upon as a team. Artur Zadania was the first one to take responsibilities for the main punches. I took responsibilities for all the clothes foley and gauntlet foley. David took quad gore and special punches. There's also a few people working with electric stuff and so on. So we each kind of gave a little bit of our own soul to those punches. But how we approached it, we broke it down. And the first thing that was quickly apparent, Jesse is using free limbs to kill vampires. He's not really fond of his left leg. He's not using it. But otherwise, there's the right punch with the gauntlet, there's left punch with a fist. So there was the first thing we want to split. We want to split the volley for it. We want to split punches for it. We want to split a kick that's basically a stagger hit, not dealing much damage. And then we figure out that there's a lot of comboing going on in the game, so we want to have a gradation of subsequent punches, so they react to how they are chained. And on top of that, if you have a finisher, we wanted to play it differently. We added stuff in quad for the finishers and for those old custom animations that we have. And yeah, the combat evolves, so we have a bunch of special attacks, perks, upgrades, and so on. So it really broke down to not fixing the one thing you think you're sounding bad, but just rethink the approach. And once we filled, even first pass of this, once we filled all those little needs, those little foley and distinction between punches, it started sounded much, much better from the get-go.
And the next core audio feature of the game, as you can imagine, in a game about cowboys hunting vampires and other disgusting stuff, was weapons, guns, player weapons. And it's really interesting case. Before, we came in late in numbers, and I came from Shadow Warrior, where we delivered what I believe were nice weapons, nice guns.
Really nice guns.
I came in here and, well, guys, it's not great. It's not terrible. Let's do it better. We can do it better, right? Because after all, the game was mostly about the melee, but still, we want to punch our players in their faces, even with weapons, which is a good thing, and you should want it for your guns. And yeah, we looked at our weapons and we realized they're really noisy. They are oversaturated, overcompressed. Most of the stuff that applied to our punches were also present here. There were few iterations, but they were not doing much. They were rather chaotic asset swaps. And we wanted a punch. We wanted to make it stand out. We wanted something unique. The detail was not there, and oh boy, when we moved to surround realm, we realized that it's not great. Definitely not great. The game was just turning into one big wall of noise because, they are not punchy, so we heard, well, make it louder. So it didn't cut it. And apart from that, there were also serious problems with balance between weapons. You really couldn't tell if you're shooting from big weapon or small weapons. So it also had to be addressed. And here are the weapons that we shipped the game with. Well, basically, this is where 1 month of really focused work can get you. So, yeah, I just came in with fresh experience from Shadow Warrior, with some tips and tricks behind my belt, with some systems that we made for Shadow Warrior. And it really came up all together, where I was basically able to make a complete overhaul of all the player weapon sounds. And yeah, we added a lot of stuff. Very important for us was kick. So yeah, with that I focused on punchy transients. One of interesting things was that each weapon had hidden animal roaring sweetener in it. So yeah, we looked for some solutions that could give us the right character, some kind of uniqueness, and this was our thing. And yeah, another stuff was also we wanted upgrades to really feel like upgrades. So there was some balancing here and there, but yeah, upgraded weapons not only sound different because of the fact that they are electricity infused. I hope they sound just better. Another thing was bullet impacts that were finally reacting to the surfaces with that hit markers. So whenever you hit something valid, so ugly beast, vampire or something, there's a reaction, and you know you hit it and it hurt. There are also fake ricochets, because why not? It's a game about cowboys, so whenever you shoot your trusty revolver, you hear fake ricochets. There's no real ricochet system behind it, no physics calculations. Yeah. We also took care about the surround placement. So yeah, the most of the energy comes from the front. We also have dynamic quad tails that react to your environment, environments. We also have proper discrete LFE channel content. And on top of that, we are mixing it using very, very aggressive mixing snapshots. And yeah, it really kicks. And yeah, the basic iteration of all the weapons took about 1 month. There was later on additional 1 month for fixing stuff, for adding detail here and there, iterating, balancing them together. And yeah, I wasn't doing anything else during that time. And this is another example of core audio feature for us. We just decided guns are
We just
important
locked
this
David
game.
in the basement. So we did not take approach of
I
a
think
few people working on it. We just left it to him.
And this is the result. Yeah. We wanted this reaction. Yeah. It works. And other results of our new approach, new pipeline, new workflow. Thanks to that, we were really able to focus on the mix, which is quite often overlooked. And we're really happy. It is balanced. It is more dynamic than it would be without our approach. More on that later from Michał. So I don't want to go too deep into that. Another interesting thing is that each major group of the sound got its proper owner. Like there was a person responsible for ambience, there was a person responsible for creature, and so on and so on. So whenever somebody worked on this stuff, he was able to just go to that person, consult, get an opinion, get a quick decision. And yeah, it's something I spoke about earlier. Core audio features. We really focused on what's important from player perspective. At the end of the day, game audio is not about delivering pretty sounding sound assets. It's about making the game better using all the tools at your disposal. So, yeah, this is what we focused on. Another result was general happiness from the team. We're really happy what we were able to deliver. The whole process was way better. We were very happy. Yeah, it was cool process. And coming back for topic about major groups of sounds. There's something interesting about being a sound designer. There are various paths you can take, and our approach is to look for and to develop ourselves in direction of being like this T-shaped person. So you have all the generalist checkboxes checked. Thank you, Michał. And yeah, basically, whatever you touch, you can deliver shippable quality of it. But we all like some things more than others. And in our world, here's where specialization came in. So yeah, this is what we focused on. Some of us were masters of the ambience, so we're great when working on creatures. Michał Jankowski is a very interesting case here because this is a person who, before joining us, before joining game dev, worked for 20 plus years in film and TV, and he has great knowledge about linear media, about how to add sound to picture and tell a story. He knows. He has great solutions for video processing, and yeah, it really helped.
Well, the cool thing about that is it's not like we were given those tasks. Each of us just picked what we like the most and focused on that. That's one of the sources that happiness of ours came from, that we could work with the stuff that we really like. And I want to stick with that happiness because, well, I chose to be a game audio professional instead of being an architect because I fell in love with the industry and the way we make games. And I had many great moments in my career, but really one of the fondest memories, recent memories, was the final push of Evil West. And why? Because we decided, as you remember, we were 7 senior sound designers, flat structure, no lead, no audio director. And when it came to mixing the game, we didn't want to give it to one person. We wanted to do it all together. And we decided to meet in the spacious area in Noise Room Studio in Warsaw. And I thought at the beginning those meetings would be just us sitting by each other and mixing the game live and making this louder, that quieter, low pass, high pass, all the usual stuff. And that obviously happened, but at the same time, it opened so much more. The first thing, and I was surprised by it, each of us played the game differently. An example I really like David did a really cool sweetener for the special jump punch, and we all liked it. Up until Pavel played the game, because Pavel was abusing that move on some enemies. And instead of that sound being played one every 2 minutes, it played one after the other, and we quickly decided, okay, yeah, it can't be that cool and that pronounced, that sweetener. So we just learned a lot how the game sounds, not watching ourselves play, but watching others play. And this is something, even if you don't have a big audio team, grab your favorite level designer, animator, UX designer, whoever, sit them side by side and watch and listen to them playing the game. It will open up your ears to a lot of issues. And apart from just mixing the game, we were like, this could be better, and this could be better, and we can do it differently. And after each session, we had like 200 tasks, because Claudia was just sitting and typing all the things we were saying into Jira. And then those 200 tasks were being vaporized within a week or two. Having that big of a team really allows to do that, and then we'll meet on another session, and it just, you could feel the quality of audio rising, and it was just a great time. And I learned a whole lot from these guys, and yeah, something I really enjoyed. And if you can do it in your development, please do so. You'll do yourself a favor.
With that being said, yeah, we're heading towards the end, and what's our plan? Yeah. Apart from cracking the jokes all the time, this is constant. There are some new things. We build the structures. Currently, we have leads for each city audio department instead of pure anarchy, which was lovely, but it's so much better to have a representative. So it allows you to really stay in the loop. You really can gather more info about stuff that is being done. You can push some ideas that can be adapted in other departments. We have a pipeline. We're developing in further. It's getting better and better. We have better visual representation for this that don't make you crazy and cry. We really invest heavily in research and development of our stuff, and we when it comes to audio technology, we want the whole process to be as effortless as possible and as smooth as possible. We want sound designers to focus on creative stuff instead of tech. So, yeah, this really helps. We create our own custom source libraries. So we go out, we record stuff, yeah, that we don't find in other libraries, and yeah, this is good. We also standardize our tool sets so we can exchange work. We are on the same set of speakers. So we basically hear something quite similar, and we are really involved in development process. And instead of decoration that is added at the very late of the process, audio is really part of the feature, and yeah, it helps. Another thing is we switched from Fmod to Wise. It's a journey. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. You can do so much more with Wise. You can hurt yourself on so many more creative ways. Yeah, we love it. And to sum things up, yeah, process always can be improved, even very late.
It's very important. Very important.
And better process means more happiness and better results, better sounding game, and as such, better game as a whole thing. And reasonable scope also allows for easier iteration. The whole thing with the weapons, it wouldn't be possible if we did it in a complicated way in the first place. It It was really simple at its core. And here comes also our Pareto principle that we keep very close. So whenever humans touch something in the world, it tends to go like this. 18% of results comes from 20% of the effort. And we use that to set our priorities. Another thing is that our approach is generalist with additional specialization is very, very powerful. And this is the path that we want to move forward with. And this is the best thing at the end with the start. There was no crunch at the end of the whole process. Yeah, we saved our lives. And that being said, we're recruiting, we're hiring. Yeah, we're looking for a sound designer for our Krakow studio. We're looking for a programmer for Warsaw studio. Yeah, if you're interested, you know what to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dawid, Michał, thank you very much for so many tips and tricks from your work. Maybe if someone from audience have some questions to our guests. Yes, please. Please to come to me.
Stand before the camera.
Yes.
You need to be on the vision. Come on. Don't be shy.
Your name and question.
My name is Stanisław. Please
No pressure.
regards to Martin Sobczak, my former colleague. How do you divide Foley in terms of this T-shaped person model? Like, do you assign Foley tasks to one person for enemies and player, for example? Or do you divide it like...
I can take it. Basically, we look at our team and we check who owns Neumann KMR81. We assign it to this guy.
Yeah.
That was me. To further iterate on this question, yeah, and that's why I did the Foley mostly.
Can I like quickly follow up? Do you have a Foley studio? Do you record your own Foley, or you just edit Foley from libraries?
No, we don't have a dedicated Foley studio at Flying Wild Hog, but but we use Foley studios for that. It's split like basically for that game. Like Marcin did Foley for the monsters because he was handling the monsters. So we were not splitting monsters between vocalization and Foley. He did both, and I did most of the Foley for the player. But for example, Footsteps was done totally by Michał Jankowski. So I did all the movement of the cloths and the combat Foley and the holster Foley. But it really comes down. Foley and any other tasks comes down. Okay, we have this to be done. Who wants to do it? And like I found online an old lady who was selling that old leather jacket for €8, and she was convincing me that it's a man's model and I will look good in it. But this was really heavy, nice, and make beautiful sounds. So, yeah. And I wanted to do it, so I took it.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. That was.
Yeah.
Hi.
You were talking about dynamic or about balancing and mixing weapons. I wanted to ask if you are using any dynamic mixing, side chaining or ducking in context of the whole game.
Yeah, a lot. Side chaining, side chaining was our bread and butter, but the whole game really changed when we exploited snapshots. It's really aggressive sometimes. It's very, very short. Very short moments. It's for the player don't hear that. Well, hey guys, there's no ambience. The music is gone. It's for a very short part of the second, but it's gone. There's a place for a proper kick. And in many cases, the snapshot comes in few milliseconds before the transient came, so there's even more space for the transient. And that's it.
Yeah, that being said, now when we transition to WIs, we plan on using HDR in further games for that purpose. We feel like this is the best possible system for hog-like games, that all that's happening.
When you did the weapons overhaul, what stage in development were the weapons at that point in terms of animation, behavior, were they quite developed, or was there still a lot of work in progress?
Yeah, they were quite developed. I believe it was beta moment in the development.
Couple months after beta.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we were basically finishing the game, and this whole crazy idea came in, and we loved it.
So that was, I guess, was a necessary thing for you to be able to do that.
Exactly, it wouldn't be possible to do it in the short span of time
Yeah.
if it will be still changes coming in. But they were pretty much done. I believe only partially like particles and VFX of the weapons evolved a little bit, but otherwise, animation-wise and design-wise, they were
Nothing
there.
major.
So would you look to do a really heavily focused overhaul again in the future, or would you try to do it more up front, or?
As we said, our approach now involves putting audio in the whole process. We are part of the feature, so yeah, we want to make our weapons sound as good as possible, as early as possible. It was crazy ride. It was crazy adventure.
Like how many iterations of shotgun you did in Shadow Warrior?
Yeah, about 20.
Yeah. And he worked on from the beginning. So 20 iterations of shotgun if you give him the time. But you can't give him that much time because he will just sit on the shotgun, so we can have to put David in late for the weapons.
And then the shotgun for Evil West came. Yeah, another shotgun.
Thank you very much for our guest, for you. And
Thank you.